Hello, Alistair. Hello, Sergeant. How are you guys? You know, if music gets too loud, I'll turn down a sec. I figured out the issue with restream, so that's good. Alright, almost ready here. New mic, does it sound different? Yeah, I got the new mic installed. How's it going there, officer? Good to see you. Yeah, I can't hear myself as well, so it's a little bit harder. It's the same brand mic. It's just, you know. What do I think of the mods? I haven't really looked at them. I've been busy, so I haven't looked at any mods. Let's go ahead and take a look at the old bush plane here. It's pretty much done. I need to do video and all that stuff, so I might do that live here. But let's go take a look at the new bush plane. Pretty much done. I put in autopilot and a bunch of other stuff, so do a quick walk around. So I like the paint scheme. Paint schemes look good. Kind of that 70s paint scheme to it. So I put in a seating module. So this seating module here, let's see, it should grab. That grabbed? It's grabbed. Okay, so that will grab to that track segment, and it's got 4 seats. So that seating module will go in there. I'll put some rescue equipment in there. But you can also put cargo in, that will attach to that. Worked on a bunch of the systems here. So we've got, let's see, what do we got here? Pretty much everything's done. Let me quickly read chat. Hello, Rasmus. Sounds a little more muffled yet. How about now? Is that better? I got that pop filter. It's being a little weird. I'm not a huge fan of this one. Yeah, that's better actually. Can you guys hear that better? That one sounds better in my ear. Sometimes I have to set this just right so I can hear myself, but I'm going to put the pop filter back on. Let me put the big pop filter on so it doesn't make a ton of noise when I do it. There we go. How's that? That sound better? Alright, let's see. Hello, Rasmus. How are you? What do I think? The new mods, talked a little bit about that. Yeah, the paint looks good. I like that. I like the old, that. Missed the recordings that I used to do. Which one specifically? Just like the videos, yeah. Yep. There's a lot of work to edit. That's the main thing. A lot of editing. I might cut the brown down there. I don't know yet. Alright, so kind of a tour inside here. So let's go ahead and start it up. So battery master comes on. You notice we just got a quick flash of that. That will give us a volts light if we're discharging. I actually have infinite electricity on, so it's not going to discharge much, but let's shut that off. So we'll get a discharge on volts. If it goes down low enough, it will trigger a low volts light, so you know. Let's go ahead and crank 1. So we got fuel valve 1 and start. Watch RPM and manifold pressure. Alright, so 1 is started. We'll go ahead and start 2. Watch manifold pressure there, but we'll go put the parking brake on too. Alright, so 2 is started. Beacon should have been on for that. We'll turn the beacon on. So we have battery, volts, low volts light there. We have our backup compass there. Attitude indicator, Jesus Christ, airspeed indicator, attitude indicator. So you'd want to set your attitude on the horizon for takeoff, altimeter, turn slip, heading, VSI. Have flaps in degrees flaps up and down, parking brake, have this. If I do, I haven't labeled them yet, but vertical is usually altitude, heading for the autopilot control, GPS control, bearing panel. Got manifold pressure front and rear, RPM front and rear, temperature front and rear, high temp lights. We also have boots for the anti-icing system, so the black is pneumatic boots. And so what will happen is if we detect rain with that rain detector and the temperature is below 0 degrees C, it will show ice. If ice is detected, the anti-flaps will trigger. And so that will give you less lift, and it will start to, you know, give you more drag and less lift. If you turn on the boots, it will negate that. And so then we have fuel, and we have a low fuel light if we go low fuel, and that's pretty much controls. Up, down is throttle, space is brakes, prop is plus and as 1 and 2. Yeah. Yeah, that other pop filter was really restricting my audio, so it was tough. Oh yeah, the career and tutorials. Yeah, I've just been busy, so it's tough to get any of that stuff done. The other thing too is like, it takes a ton of editing to do videos. That's one reason I did more streams was, like I figured it's at least a 2 to 1, so if I do a career for an hour and then I make a video about it, it's gonna take me 2 hours to make, or I could just stream for 2 hours, so tends to be why I went to multiplayer for a lot of that. Let's see what else. I've got regular lights. Let's go ahead and taxi out. Parking brake off. Up in the throttle. So let's go ahead and I'm thinking 1 to 2 knots of flaps for takeoff. Let's go 1 knot. You can see it's progressive flaps, so it will slowly go there if I push. As you can see. Another cool feature, let's put the flaps down a second. Let's actually, we'll stop and I'll put the parking brake on. There's another cool feature here. Because the doors will hit the flaps, let's say that I put full flap in. There's 4 notches of flaps total. So if flaps are down, if I go ahead and open the door, the flaps will retract. So flaps retract so that the door can't hit them. And we'll go 1 notch of flaps for takeoff again. Alright, let's go ahead and taxi out. But this should sip fuel. Like, somebody had a comment on, they were asking for help and talking about how, you know, they didn't have enough power to get the airplane off the ground, so I told them, like, gear up to, like, you know, somewhere close to, like, a, you know, 5 to 1, a 9 to 1, and they're like, oh, you're going to need a huge engine for this. This has 9-cylinder engines in it, and I'm at a... the hell is it, 7.5 to 1, I think? Maybe it's a 4 to 1. You know, and this is very efficient. The engines don't have to run. They are not supercharged. You get really good speed, so I don't know where some of these people are having problems with that. I think they're probably using the old shitty engines instead of using proper modular engines, but let's take off here. Manifold pressure is coming up. RPM is good. Alright, positive rate. Alright, let's go put the flaps up. So I did put autopilot in this. Alright, we'll start bringing the prop back to limit the RPM and be more efficient. So you see manifold will come back and props are reducing the RPM. Yeah, I sound very muffled in my head. I don't really care. Accurate fuel gauges. This can't be GA Aviation, yeah. Yep, so like this is probably a reasonable cruise here at 167 knots. If I bring my prop all the way back, we can go into max economy, which is going to be the lowest fuel burn. So like I'll bring this all the way back, and you can see with props all the way back. So we do lose speed, but I've talked about this before. Like you sip fuel, so I've done the calculations before where it's like you'll use like 1/5 of the fuel. And you'll, you know, so let's put it this way, you'll use like 50% of the fuel, so you'll get a 50% fuel savings, and you'll only lose like, say, 15% of the speed. So going into that high efficiency is worth it. So like, we've lost 40 knots, The distances aren't that much, but we're down to 320 RPM. And that will, like, my coolant system is not even turned on until it goes over 100. So I have no cooling going on right now, and you can see how slow it's heating. So let's go ahead and set in, let's go ahead and set Destinazione here. I don't know if we'll go all the way up here, but go ahead and put that in. I have to do a little bit of doctoring here for, what are we at altitude-wise? Let's go to 3 bones, or IFR, we'll say. So this is heading mode. Go to 3000. Alright, let's go autopilot, altitude hold, nav, and GPS. So, bearing of 343, distance is 60 nautical miles. It takes us 27 minutes to get up to the Arctic at max economy. If I go ahead and start pushing the props forward and go, you know, max speed, you'll see we're going to be burning more fuel, and we, like you saw before, probably do like 170 knots in cruise. We can go faster, but that's probably a pretty good normal cruise. There's 180, so that's probably the max we really want to be hammering around. I slowed it down by cutting the engines down in size. So, you see now we're down to 19 minutes. So, you know, I've shaved, what did I shave? 7 minutes max? So I've shaved 7 minutes to burn considerably more fuel, like more than double, 2.5 times the fuel, or not 2.5 times the speed, so. And then, I don't know if we'll be able to get icing conditions. Let's go up to, I don't have a temp reading, so let's go up to 15,000 feet. Try to get some rain on here. So we'll see if the ice light comes on. I'll pull back the prop a little bit. I do need to change the p-value on this a little bit for the autopilot. You see it's a little bit off course. This came off of the large amphib. Read some chat now. How's it going there, Daniel? Good to see you. How fast does your 7.6 go? And I've got 320 knots on my VTOL jet, my VTOL cargo jet. Burns a lot of fuel, but that's one thing why I really wanted them to add passengers, is it makes it so that you can, like, it gives them viability to passenger transport. Let's go ahead and put on some lights here. Nav, strobes. Navs and strobes on there. So yeah, I gotta play with the p-value just a little bit on the autopilot. How's it going there, Paulo? How are you? 145, yeah. So as soon as we get to 0 degrees and we have rain detected, we will get a ice detected light. Once we get the ice detected, so right in the hubs here of the booms, I have what I call anti-flaps. So the flaps go down and give you lift, and then these will go the opposite direction. So the flaps will go down and make more lift, and the anti-flaps will go the opposite direction and make less lift, but a lot of drag. So you can see what it's doing now. Because the p-value is too low on the autopilot, it is it lets it drift too much, then it has to come back and correct it, so I gotta fix that. Because the large amphib has much bigger rudders, so just a little dab will do you on that. Looks like snow now. We might be getting... Okay, so see, we got an ice detected. So if you notice, see our speed? We're now about, whatever we are, 5 knots slower. Let's go ahead and put the boots on. And see the speed come back up? So that's what those anti-flaps do, is they add a lot more drag, and they also pull the craft down. And so, you know, so that's the anti-icing system. So when ice is detected, you want to put your boots on. Now the way the boots work in real life is, it depends on the system, but they'll cycle. So they'll inflate, deflate, and they'll break the ice off. So, oh, I got a bad paint color right there I gotta fix. Okay. Let's go ahead and descend down. Let's go down to, I don't know, 5,000. We want to get out of this weather, go somewhere warmer. Yeah, the one thing that modding is exciting me about is, like, I really want to add, like, an island in these corners. Like this corner, you know, maybe right here and right here. That would be really cool to add those. Yeah, I get that with the flight time. It's tough having a small map, you know. That's like if people want to go 80 knots in a boat everywhere. It's like, dude, the distance is already pretty damn short, you know. Yeah, so the way the boots work, here, let me get some picture of boots. Let's see if I can find a pneumatic boot GIF. Yeah, I'm not huge on this microphone. It's just, the original Bose microphone was better, but it didn't last that long, and and they don't make them anymore. So it's all third-party bullshit, and it's kind of obnoxious. And then this one was only like 30 bucks. The last one I bought was 8 bucks. It lasted me about 6 months. I finally replaced it. See, usually they'll have a GIF of the of boots inflating. Yeah, I won't show the YouTube video of it, but like this is what the boots will look like if they're right here is what they'll look like when they are filled with air, and so break off the ice, so they sit flat. Yeah. So like here you can see this one, it's showing you what the boots look like, then inflated, and then it breaks off the ice. So that's how the boots work. And then for most jets, so like if you look at, I'm trying to find a good leading edge here. So like if you look at the front and the slats here, they're silver, and it puts hot air from the turbines into the leading edges of the cowlings and the leading edges of the wings. And so on jets and some turboprops, they have hot wings where it heats up the front of the wing to keep the ice from forming. So you can see a hot wing there, and then hot intakes on the nacelles. But a plane like this would have boots. Hello, Citrus. Good to see you. How are you? Yeah, the mic's kind of annoying me a little bit. Just I sound very muffled. It's hard for me to hear anything. Let's see what this comment on Steam is. But yeah, so you can see the performance difference. So if I shut the boots back off, watch the speed go down. So that's simulating icing conditions. So all the anti-flaps, you can't see them, but they're right here in this XML block. There's, I think it's a 5x, so there's 4 small fins in here, there's 4 small fins in here. That's the other thing that helps with having a proper deck angle with the flaps, because you have kind of a nose-up attitude a little bit more in real life with the flaps down than in game, so that also helps with that. It helps push the back down, and so it kind of counteracts some of that lift, so cut some of the lift and add some more drag. But then put the de-icing on, and you can see we get our speed back, and we also you know, change our angle of attack, which is what it would happen. So that's good. And then this works pretty well in the back here. The seating, it grabs on really well, and then I can move that in and out. Bring a prop back just a little, and you see we get rid of the smoke. So it's just running too rich. So manifold 37, 36 on the manifolds. Look at the temperature, as you can see. This has yet to hit this has not used the cooling system at all. I could probably run this plane with no cooling, and I would probably be able to go for, I don't know, 35, 40 minutes before I had any sort of overheating problems in the arid biome. As you can see, we're losing temperature, and my cooling system's not even on. So, you know, I think one thing that, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing with adding modding, but what you'll see is you're going to see people mod radiators, so they're way OP. And so you're going to get a lot of people who never take the time to learn how to build properly, and and again, people can play however they want, they should play however they want, but at the end of the day, kind of learning some of these fundamental things of like how, you know, hey, don't run your engine at ridiculously high RPM, and you'll save fuel, and you'll also reduce heat, and it'll be a breeze to cool, you know. So you got a lot of people, I think, will do that with the mods. They'll just, you know, they'll end up kind of losing that skill set, you know, which to each their own, of course. But yeah, I think that's one of the only negative things. But again, people can play however they want. It's, you know, because like this doesn't even have electric radiators. This has the old school radiator right there, and it has one in the back, and that's it. And it stays ice cold, like literally, like I said, I have no cooling system turned on right now. It won't even turn on until it goes to 100 degrees, and we're losing temperature at 47 in the rear and 52 in the front. So, yep. And it's not even a hack, you know, low RPM for the engine. It's why, you know, it's what you do in real life. You're not going to redline all the time. You know, you burn up your engines. Like most airplanes, you're pulling back the thrust. You're not running at max all the time for that very reason. You're going to wear the engine out. You know, you're going to cause too much heat, you know. Hello, Royal Nug, how are you? Are hot wings heated from the engine? Yeah, there's, so the compressor section is, like, there's no flame in the compressor section. Let me see if I can find a pneumatics diagram. Find the pneumatics page. How's the pneumatics page? Why can't you click here? I think it's ECS page. The synaptic page. ECS synaptic page. Here we go. This will work. This picture here. Oh, you're gonna be tiny. That's, I can still see it. So if you look at this synaptic page right here, this is your, that's the hydraulics. For fuck's sake, game. Or Google. Google is so bad because they use an AI and it really blows. Like, I type in all the right words and it can't figure out what the hell it's doing. Here we go. This might be better. Just really woeful how bad the AI is. Pretty bad. Alright, so like right here, this is your, that's not it either. Is it? I'm looking. No, that's not it. That's electrical. What the friggin' hell is it? That's cabin temp. That's hydraulic. That's doors page. That's the regular standard page. Go ahead, Google. I literally type in, let me see, CRJ 900 anti-icing synaptic page. It's really shitty how bad Google is. Oh my god, like they have nothing here. Anyways, so essentially you have hot bleed air come off the compressor section. So it's not even out of the hot section where there's fire. Just by compressing the air gets really hot. And so in the compressor section you have really hot air. And then it goes, you just open a valve and that air goes from the compressor section to the nacelles, so the inlets of the turbine inlets. And it goes in an area where it's bare metal, and then it leaks out. And it goes to the wings, and it goes with this bare metal, and it leaks out. And then because it is leaking out, you're losing pressure. You're losing compressed air out of the engine, so you actually lose some power as well. So when your anti-ice is on, you will actually be at reduced power setting. So one thing I'd ask Basilicious to put in too was like right here, you see we're level at 5. And so you would redo your artificial horizon and you would level it so that when you look out, you're leveled. And the reason is, like, say we're heavier. If we're heavier, we need a increased angle of attack in order to maintain altitude. So if we were heavier, our pitch angle would be even higher. If we were lighter, our pitch angle would be lower. If we had flaps in, our pitch angle would change. Like here, let's go ahead, knock a notch of flaps in, see what happens. So see what our pitch angle is doing? So to maintain altitude, let's see, it's going to have to correct, but you'll see what it does to correct. I might not have enough pitch allowance on here to be flying around flaps. Yeah, so I got to change the p-value on pitch because the flaps are too strong for it. So, but you can see how it has to pitch the nose down. Because we have increased lift, it needs to pitch the nose down in order to be able to maintain altitude. So you'd want to reset that based on those factors. You know, so like another thing to consider would be there are some planes that actually do negative flaps, so the flaps come up for cruise. And so let's say, like if we looked at our pitch angle is pretty flat, but if you had a plane that has a pretty nose up pitch angle, that's going to cause a lot more induced drag. And so by putting the flaps negative so they actually come up a little bit, that will allow you to pitch your nose down more and be a little bit flatter. And you'll actually be able to be less draggy. So I think the Maul has negative flaps. Yeah, low RPM sounds good too. It's like all the people who complain about lawnmowers in game. Like every engine in game sounds like a lawnmower. It's like, no man, the way you've made your engine makes it sound like a lawnmower. If you build your engine correctly, it doesn't sound like a lawnmower. You know. It's that other thing. It's like, and that's a cool learning experience. Is like you learn how to build correctly. You know, and to build correctly, you want to do stuff like, you know, you want to gear properly. Like this has, I think, what did I say it was? I think it's a 5. Let me see. 3927 divided by 5, 5.4. Yeah, this has a 5-to-4 gear ratio. It could probably go even higher. But again, I don't want it unrealistically. Well, actually, we're burning a lot of fuel. I might gear this up even more. So, okay, so let's look at this real quick. So we went from 130 down to 50. So what's that, 80 gallons about? 80, be less than that. 73 gallons we burned. All right, see how fast it's doing it? Watch when I go back into best economy. Best economy is going to be the setup for, you know, going to be the least fuel burn. You'll also notice because I'm slowing down, we have less airflow over the wings, making less lift. So the pitch is going to have to come up to maintain altitude. So it's going to be probably imperceptible, but the pitch would come up a little bit. So again, that's when you would adjust your artificial horizon. But like, look at how slow the fuel's burn is going now in best economy. And there's no way in sunny Christ, like look at our temperature. We're down to 30 degrees and dropping, and I've, like, literally my cooling system is not turned on once. I could just get rid of it, you know. But, so it's kind of a testament to, like, the people who always want that shortcut of, like, oh, you know, they need to make radiators stronger. They really don't, you know. And it's kind of like, you could learn how to make them, you know, how to work within the realm of the game, and I think that would be a better strategy. I'm thinking I might extend this side color right here, and because I want this same dash color, the brown, to be where this panel is. So I darkened up the interior too. I like the darker interior. Really looking forward to Q&A. Get some more. Yeah, it'd be nice to see. Yeah. So again, Alistair is gonna live stream the Q&A. Make sure you watch that. I'll be busy that day, but you know, it'd be good to see that. One thing I would recommend, Alistair, is go back after you're done with the Q&A. Don't put, like, so this would be my recommendation from doing the QAs a couple times. Go ahead and don't do too much commentary. Do like do beginning commentary if you want, before they start the Q&A, and then do the Q&A with no commentary. Like I didn't engage with chat very much because you kind of want it to be a timeless thing where people can go back and reference the Q&A. And then at the end, do your thoughts and feedback on it. So if somebody wants to watch parts of the Q&A, they can watch it without like you talking over Deltars. And then what I did was I went back and I time-stamped everything. And once it's time-stamped, you can post it. And then if people want to like, you know, see a certain part, you know, for example, let's say the question is, what's not Stormworks 2 going to be? Or, you know, when is Stormworks 2 coming out? And Deltars will say, Stormworks 2 is not coming out. We're not making Stormworks 2. It's not Stormworks 2. It's its own game. It's a different game. And so then you can easily just reference that later and provide the link, which is nice, you know. So that's what I've done in the past, and it makes it easy so that, let's go in IFR altitude. Makes it easy so that you can reference it, because again, like, you know, a bunch of people say, it's supposed to be Stormworks 2, or Stormworks 2 is coming out, and you can easily just say, right here, the developer of the game says there is no Stormworks 2 coming out. Or people will be like, oh, you know, modding's coming out, so they're abandoning the game. And you can easily go point to the video where it's, where you can show, like, nope, this is exactly what they said, unadulterated. This is words from their mouth, you know. And so I kind of, that's a good thing to do. I've been doing a lot of flying, not flying in airplanes. I flew the simulator, about 9 hours, or 10 hours last week. Okay. I'll put some pics up the simulator at some point. I did a full motion simulator last week. Alright, so we're coming in on final here. I'm pushing the prop forward. Again, so that's going to go low pitch, high RPM. RPM's coming up. Alright, landing gear is down and welded. Flaps are coming in. And as we add flaps, we're adding lift, so we need to trim our elevator, right? We're changing where our center of lift is. So we need to trim. People keep asking, like, oh my god, I do this, and, you know, and now my nose is sticking down. Yep, that's what happens in real life. You know, you literally trim constantly in real life. It's just constant pitch trim. So we're a little high here. I'm going to go ahead and pull some power, drop my nose. I'm aiming at the two big squares. Those are your aiming bars. That's ideally where you want to land. For example, in an airliner, you are required to land within all those dashes. If you can't land on the dashes, you have to go around. So that's the runway threshold. You have to land within the runway threshold. There we go. Yeah, the other thing too is, like, this looks super slow. We're going 40 knots. So, like, people will be like, oh, the planes stop instantly. We're still going 40 knots here. You know, I've got the power kept up, but, like, you know, when you're coming in to land at 75 knots, like, that's what it's going to be like. You're going to slow down to 30 pretty quick, you know, and taxiing around, you know, and then once you're taxiing slower than that. You want to be able to let the plane coast to a stop if need be. Get a nice pic here of this. But I think this is pretty much ready. There's only a couple paint issues here and there. Alright, good. Let's go ahead. We can shut off anti-icing. We can go ahead and nav strobes are off. Let's shut down rear and front. Shut off our modes. Alright. And one of the few planes I have where you don't immediately walk out in the prop. And then I didn't put the flaps up, so if we open the door, it will automatically put the flaps up so you don't hit it with the door. It's actually, what is it? One of the Bonanzas, I think it's a Cessna 210 or the 206. If you need to get out of the airplane in an emergency, it will actually put the flap up a little bit. Or they tell you to put the flaps up to a certain level so you can open the door, because the flap will block the door and you can't get out in an emergency. Alright, let me go ahead and read some chat. Hello, Gaming Baron 1, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, I think, you know, the nice thing with modding is this, is one, so these are my, I think modding's probably a good idea with this game. at the end of the day, like, I don't want to gatekeep where I say, listen, you know, the game's supposed to be an engineering and building game. Sure, you're gonna get your Komodo people who want to just sink ships all day and do that bullshit, and that's perfectly fine. And so the problem is, like, I don't want the devs to waste a bunch of time catering to things that they themselves don't even want the game to be. I want them to build the game they want, which happens to also be the game I want and why I play it. And so, one of the things with adding modding is, like, you have all that sinking ship stuff that people want to do. They can do that great with mods where they have this big modded ship that, you know, has specialized sinking mechanics, built-in modding, and those people can do that all day long and not detract from what the game is supposed to be. And the devs can focus on making the game they want, and if other people want it, they don't have to go waste time putting in things that they don't want in their game. They can let the modders do that and build the game however they want. And so I like that element of modding. Again, like, you know, I talked about how, you know, it would be better if people just learned how to cool their engines, because part of it is, again, understanding the relationship between load, RPS, you know, and if you understand those things, they're a piece of cake to cool. But it is also makes it so that somebody might have to spend hundreds of hours just to learn how to cool their vehicle, and then you lose those people. And at the end of the day, the more people that buy the game, the better it is for everybody, because it keeps the game alive, it keeps the devs building what they want. So to a certain extent, it subsidizes the actual gameplay that is intended for the game to have somebody else doing gameplay that isn't intended, but with mods. And so people can mod to their heart's content and make the game whatever they want, and the devs can make the game they want. And, you know, that's cool. And so, like, people have been crying and bitching on the forums for so long about, I want 1x3 wedges. Great. Put out a mod pack, have your 1x3 wedges, and now they can kind of stop, you know? And so that's kind of cool, you know? And that's one of the reasons why I think modding will be ultimately good for a lot of those things, is it just, you know, it allows that to happen. And then if the devs see something is really, really popular, they can make that an innate part of the game. They can go ahead and say, hey, this is super popular. And that's what happened a lot with Farming Sim was they saw that a ton of people were building forestry mods. And because they were building forestry mods, the devs put forestry in. And so they were able to put something in innately in the game that people have been wanting. And that's really cool. And so, you know, it allows them to kind of see what's popular, what's not popular. If something's super popular, but the devs don't want it in the game, they don't have to. They can it can stay as a mod. And if something is, you know, really popular, and the devs say, hey, that's something we would like to put in the game, they can do that too. Let's actually see. I might gold this shit up here. Gold spinners, what do we think? I like a gold spinner. I think that looks good. A little bit of contrast. There was a bad gold color somewhere here. That goes there. Okay, it's right here, I think. We're supposed to be right here, maybe, behind this. Yeah, I think maybe it's right there. No, where was that bad color? Let's fix all this color. Let's get rid of this rain. Trying to fix all these color problems. This is pretty much ready to go. Right here. Okay. Yeah, okay, right there. You know, so that's the benefit, I think, of it. You know, I could be a purist and be like, you know, oh, the people are playing differently than I'm playing, and I get that, but it's like, at the end of the day, I want the game to succeed as much as it can, and I think that's helpful to do so. Just like let some of these people who've been crying about these things forever, and again, like, it does benefit us. People will come back to the game who've stepped away from the game because some dude made the mod they've been wanting for that part they've been wanting that the devs didn't want to put in the game, and people can have it, you know. So I think that's a good thing. Catch up with chat a little bit, and then keep painting. Yeah, the RPM's different. That's just, again, it's a game thing. RPM's going to be different. We're in a different world. That's kind of how I see it. Is it's like we're in a different world. We're in a world where the maximum distance from the desert biome to the Arctic is 65 nautical miles. So it's like, you know, that's part of the world. The world is small, so we don't need to go as fast. We don't need to go as high. And then you also say that RPM is different. The other thing too is like you get a bunch of people to say, "Oh, the RPM's like, well, the RPM of an F1 car is 10,000." Yeah, the RPM of an F1 car is 10,000 because it runs super racing fuels. It runs more of a volatile fuel like a gasoline derivative. It's not running a kerosene-based, diesel essentially. And so like, a lot of the people who talk about that too, it's like, they are diesels, they're not gasoline either. So it's like, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You're not in our world. You're in the game world, and in the game world, the in the game world, it's the RPM's lower than it would be IRL. So that's kind of got thoughts on that. Can I screw with this? Nah, I can't. That's gonna be shit. I could potentially push that back one. I don't hate the way that looks like that. I'll leave it for now. But yeah. Yeah, but that's like there's a lot of things that are gonna be corrections. For example, like when the devs came out with the pressurization major update and space, they made it so that jet turbines would flame out at a relatively low altitude. So let's say that the devs say, okay, it's a 3-to-1 for altitude. Let's say they came out and say, okay, altitude's 3-to-1. So if in real life you're at 30,000 feet, in game that's 10,000 feet. So assume that 30,000 feet is the same as 10,000 feet because the distances are short. So if you're going to go from the Arctic down to the arid biome, if you go to 10,000 feet, it's as though you're at 30,000 feet. So this plane would go up to maybe, I don't know, 20 if it was turbocharged. It's not, let's say 15,000 feet. So that would be 5,000 feet. So max altitude of this plane would be 5,000 feet. My jets would go up to like maybe 12, 13,000 feet. And that's kind of the whole time compression thing. It's like Alistair talking about making his 767 go 100-something knots. Well, you don't want the trip to the Arctic to take 5 minutes because you're not going to be able to climb to altitude. You're not going to be able to descend from altitude. But if you go slower, it makes sense to go up to a higher altitude and then descend down. So part of it, I think, is time compression stuff. Yellow Freight engine posted a while back. Cabin engine, the max out 9. Yeah. And the other thing, too, is you'll get people complaining about how loud their engines are. And one of the ways you can do that is go to a lower RPM and still make a lot of power, Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing that I like. So like here, I'll show you, Alistair, with my what I did with the last Q&A. Like the devs posted it. I sent it to them. Because they don't make their own video of it, and so when I do it and I put it up, as long as it's well timestamped, like I've sent these links to people when they say something like, like here, like these are all the timestamps, and they're all with the questions. So like more sound updates. So like if somebody's complaining about more, hey, I want new sounds, you can go right in there. And you can send them the link, which is convenient. And so that's what I like to do, is went in there and like, more train parts. And so like when somebody says the devs aren't going to do more train parts, you can send them to the link where they talk about it. Like the devs with wheel grip. You can listen exactly to what wheel grip is. Crab fishing. Like, let's listen to this one.
Will we ever get crab pots for fishing? So I would hope so. We are planning on doing another fishing major update.
So like you can see that, and then this is also good just for like kind of a history type of thing where, like VR. If somebody's like, oh, I really want VR, and you can see them say, no, we don't think we're gonna add VR. It's too hard or whatever. I'm not saying that's what they said. I don't even remember. But like having all these things here, you can easily go back, and when somebody puts up some bullshit they heard from somebody else, you can be like, where'd you get that from? Like, this is what they said. Oh, that's what they said? Because you see this shit all the time where it's like, it's such a bad game of telephone where people will be like, oh, the devs said this. No, the devs didn't say that. Somebody on Reddit said it. You took it as, that's what the devs said, and they didn't, and you can go back and listen to what they said, and whether, they did exactly what they said they were going to do or not is irrelevant. It's like, this is what they said. They didn't say the thing you thought they said, So I think that's good for, continuity for a lot of that stuff. Because the rumor mill gets way the hell out of hand way too friggin' quick. Alright, fix that. Where else was a paint problem? Hunting for paint problems. Now let's check landing lights. I screwed around with landing lights not too long ago and check those. Make sure all three are lit. 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 Good. That's all good. Want to try to wrap this up. What else? Okay, these need to be labeled. Trying to finish this up and get this on the workshop for Alistair's challenge. Let's see. Alt. Set. Let's just do this. Alt that. GPS. I know Alistair likes it when you remove the labels on stuff so you don't see it, but I can't stand not being able to easily find my shit. It actually, like, the micros are not too bad. Like, here, I'll show you anti-flaps I've been talking about. I'll show them to you. So these are the anti-flaps. So whenever I do flaps, I put in anti-flaps. So here are the flaps. So you have the 4 panels. And then here, these move opposite. And so that gives you... so, like, as these go down, they're going to give you a lot of lift. And they're going to make it real floaty. And it's going to make it so you have to do a really low-nosed... You have to pitch with your nose way down, which is not how it would really be, because you also have a lot of drag when you put your flaps down. So you're getting lift, but you're also getting drag, and because of that, you need an increased angle of attack to maintain your descent rate or maintain altitude. And so when you flare to land, you have a nice little nose-up attitude. The problem is with the flaps not having much drag, or enough drag, you end up with a nose-down attitude, so you'd hit the props. So by putting in anti-flaps, these add a lot more drag, and they counteract some of the lifting force of the flaps. So you can do flaps 45, and they work really well the way you want. And then for the when you have the icing system off, but it's detecting ice, just these will go down, and it will slow you down because it adds drag, and it will also reduce the amount of lift the aircraft has. So it kind of simulates icing conditions. So, like, gear ratios... No, they're actually... what do I have for gear ratio? That's 7.5, was it? 15 divided by 2, 7.5. Yeah, it's a 7.5 to 1 gear ratio. So, you got a 7.5 to 1 gear ratio going to these props, and so I can run... Are these 9 cylinders? Something like 9-cylinder engines. What's that? That's 8s, I think. 8s? Gotta be 8s. Gotta be 8s. 8 cylinders, and I think this one's an 8. Maybe. This one might be a 9. This one's actually a 9 in the front. I should pull a cylinder. We got a little bit of a bigger engine in the front, but that's just because I can't fit a full radial in there. Trying to think what I want to name this, and I'll put something on here. I got plenty of paint spot. Trying to think, what do I want to name this, John? Read some chat. Well, that's like Alistair saying, people often complain about planes and everything, but they tend to operate exactly how you build them. The other thing, too, is a lot of people don't know anything about aviation. For understandable reasons, right? It's complicated science. A lot of people don't understand it. And so they assume they know more than they do as well, and so they go out there, like, talking about, like, my plane does this, and that's not realistic. Like, for example, like somebody was talking earlier today about torque. They're like, when I take off, my plane goes to one direction. Yeah, torque. Basic. Here, let's find GA airplane or let's do single piston torque. And asking the question's fine. It's just they right off the bat assume, because they played some arcade games where the flight model, Jesus Christ, single engine, single piston airplane, single piston, single recip airplane. Google is so bad. Fuck, it's bad. See if I can find some good torque stuff here. That's showing P factor, but we'll go over both of them. So here's kind of showing a good picture here. So again, the propeller turns to the right. So for every force you have an equal, for every action you have an equal and opposite reaction. So the propeller goes right, the plane goes left. So real simple. Go get an electric drill, hold the drill bit, and gently push the trigger, and you'll notice it spins around. So it tries to turn the drill bit one direction, and the handle tries to go in the other. Torque. It's exactly what's happening with the plane. Then you have P factor, where let's see if I can open this in a new tab and not be obnoxious. So you have P factor, where as the air comes off the propeller, it will go and it will hit the rudder right here, and so it will push the tail. And so you have to counteract that. So you have to do, you have left turning tendencies when you're taking off. So you have to use right rudder on a single. And when you transition from a single engine airplane to a multi-engine airplane, you don't have to do that anymore, because let's see, light, twin, let's do critical engine. That will give me the best pictures here probably. So like here's your twin. So if you have a conventional twin, both propellers, as you can see, are turning in the same direction. Don't go to some stupid website, thanks. Both engines are turning in the same direction on a conventional twin. So what's going to happen is you have what's known as your critical engine. And so you're going to get a situation where, if you notice the slipstream, this one goes and it misses the tail. This one hits the tail. And so this one has an interactive force on the tail. So that's conventional twin. So one of the engines is said to be critical. And so here you're talking about engine. This one again is a conventional twin. So this is why it takes a lot of skill to fly a light piston twin, because you'll have these big problems where if you look, so right here, this engine here, you notice it has more thrust on the right side than the left side. This one has, because they're both turning the same direction, this one has more thrust on the outside. Well, the longer the lever arm, the more torque you have. So just like if you had a really long wrench, you can unstick a stickier bolt than a short wrench. So from the center here all the way out to the longer arm, this is going to have more torque. So if you lose this engine, this one is going to try to turn the aircraft more. So ideally, you would want to lose this engine if you're going to lose an engine. All right, so that's a big part of learning how to fly multi-engine twins, is that. So you can have a critical engine. Let me see if there is. Let me see. Like here's a good picture here. So because you need a lot of rudder, which means you have more drag. So like you see here, you have drag, thrust, more rudder. You have drag, thrust, less. This is just slipstream. That's really not helpful. I'm trying to see if I can find a counter-rotating. Let's see, light twin. So like I did my twin training in a Seminole. And so like in a Piper Seminole, what they did is, if you notice, the two big arrows are in the middle, and the reason this works is this engine turns to the right, this engine turns to the left. And so if you notice, the lever arms are the same. So if you lose this engine, it's the same as if you lose this engine, and the thrust is more center line, so you have less of a yawing factor. And the reason why they don't make them all like this is you have to build, this is engine model A, and this is engine model B. And if you have the same engine on both sides, you have Model A and Model A. So you could have a Model A sitting in the hangar ready to be installed. And so if you pull this engine off and you have one of these engines already in the hangar, you can install it. If you have the same engine on this side and you need to pull this engine off, you pull it off to overhaul it, and you put the new one on, and you're good to go. If you have a conventional twin, that is, I'm trying to find it. Go back one more. So like if you have a conventional twin where the engines are different, like this one here, the two engines are different. The two engines on this one are the same. You have Model A, Model A. On this one, you have Model A and Model B. So if Model A goes, you can replace it with another one off the shelf. If this one goes, you replace it with the same one off the shelf. If this one goes and you have Model B on the shelf, you need to go out and buy Model A, and now you have Model B sitting on the shelf, Model B sitting on the airplane, and you have now you had to go buy another Model A. So it's that's why they don't just do it. You know, and the component, like, they have to make the engine, they have to put a bunch of stuff to make the engine go the opposite direction. It's a pain in the ass. So that's just some of the things of flight. But it's like you see that a lot with people in game. They're like, oh, I don't understand why my plane's turning to the right, which is fine to ask the question, but you'll get some people who go overboard and then they're like, the game's not realistic. My plane keeps yawing to the right. Why is it doing that? That doesn't make any sense. It does make sense. It's you just don't understand the fundamentals, which is fine. But that's you just don't understand. So I'm trying to see if I like this better. Stand by. Trying to see if I want to thin this down like that. I think I do. And then I want to cut this a little here. So let's see. Oh, stop it, you bastard. Thinking that's better. I want a little thinner boom. The booms are already a little bit bulbous. Think what I might see. I want them to match up though. That's the problem. It kind of, you know, it's a it'd be 1970s. Having it a little bit rounded, it makes sense. You know what? The top, this is a little bit on the large side anyway. Let's trim this out a little bit and see what I play with this a little bit. Yeah, I like that thinned out a little bit. They were just way too big. Too chunky. That's much better. Because, like, if you look through the different time periods, they had different, kind of different shapes on a lot of the tailplanes. This is why I don't like the bucket. As you can see, that's all gray. I want that to be white. Yeah, I like that better. A little bit thinner, and thin these suckers out. The problem is now putting in paint blocks for the name badge and that. It's kind of tough. I'll paint them, see how I like them, but that's definitely, I want those, I don't see, the top could change a little bit. Let's change the top just a hair. Oh, stop, you bastard. That's not bad, I don't hate that. Then I can hopefully get a paint block in. That's not bad. I don't like the bottom, I gotta fix that. Yeah, I like that. Hard to tell with it not painted red. Starting to get bulbous again. Yeah, they're too bulbous. We look at the 337 and yeah, I like it. Gotta get a little bit different. Yeah, kind of. This is a little, let me read some chat. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, you can stop a GA plane pretty fast. You know, it's like you start getting a big, like, you know, I'll easily use up 5,000 feet of runway landing in a jet. You know, a jet's also a hell of a lot heavier too. Now, the jet has a lot more tools to slow down too. It has, you know, you have spoilers, you have thrust reversers, you have good brakes on the mains. Still, but it's got a lot of weight. And you come in at 140 knots, you're touching down at probably 130 knots. Where a GA plane, you might touch down at 55 knots. You know, we probably touched down at 70 when the last landing I did there in the Arctic. You know, so it's like stopping your car on the highway. You know. Yeah, like sound mods I think are cool too. That's neat. Yeah, I get Alistair's point, like having to download the mod for your build. I don't plan on putting a lot of mods on my build. Let me just quickly look at this picture here. So you can see like how the tail shape is. So I'm gonna work a little bit on that. Um, but yeah, I'm not a huge fan of like that of you know putting too much modding stuff on my builds. Yeah, I think mod sport's good to keep the game alive. I think that's an important thing. Is it it I think it has a good place for doing that where it because you have a lot of people step away from the game because it can't do the thing they want to do, and then effectively you're able to have other people put that thing in. And so it was kind of like with Farming Sim, where you had people who really wanted to do um, they really wanted to do forestry, and so for them forestry was very important, and so they could add forestry to the game pretty easily. And then you saw there was, you had new players who all they ever wanted to do was forestry, and so they get to do forestry. And then the devs put forestry in, something they never probably thought they would be putting in the game, but they said, oh, there's a market for it, and so we can put forestry in our game, and it can be attractive to more people. I think that's a good thing. You know, I think you're gonna get a lot of people who try to make the game easier, quote unquote easier, and that doesn't pick my pocket at all. It's like if people want to go out and they want to make it so that it's like an absolute piece of cake to be able to cool, I really don't care. It's like, again, would it be better if they learned how to make something like it? Kind of like one thing that kind of annoyed me yesterday was it was on Reddit. Somebody was like, they're asking for help with a conventional helicopter. So conventional helicopter being rotor and tail rotor, right? And they asked for help. They said, I'm trying to, essentially what they're saying is, I want to build a conventional helicopter with a tail rotor. And so somebody's like, oh, you can build a coax. Well, that's not what they're asking, dude. They're not asking to build a coax. They didn't want to build a coax. They want to build a conventional helicopter. And that's a lot of people's answer to everything helicopters is just build coax. And it gets kind of annoying because it's like, some people want to build replicas of their favorite helicopter, which is a conventional. And instead of running away and going and taking the easy route and building a coax, learn how to build a conventional. And when you want to build a coax, build a coax. So I find that a little bit annoying when people are just like right off the bat, like their help is don't do the thing you want to do, just go build a coax. And I find that to be annoying because it's like the person's not asking to build a coax, they're asking to they wanted to build a conventional helicopter. So either help them build a conventional helicopter, like I don't have a problem with them mentioning, hey, you could build a coax, but this is also how you build a conventional. We get a lot of those people who like they try to just go bypass it. I like that. That looks pretty good. Paint it up. Yeah, it looks painted. Yeah, it was way too big. Horizontal tail plane. Yeah, I'm digging that. That's got good shape to it. Thins it out a little bit. It's not uber dummy thick. I should be able to get some sort of naming badge in there, maybe. Like right here, I can cut something in there with paint blocks. I'm trying to think what I want to have for this. For the name. I might cut even more here. Let's see. Let's see. Cut to there, maybe. I gotta be careful of. I can't go over this XML part too much. Yeah, but you see that sometimes. Is like people like, oh, don't do the thing you want to do. Just do the easy thing. And it's like, part of the game is not just to do easy stuff. It's like to build what you want to build, and like, oh, you don't know how to build that thing? Go learn how to do it. And that's kind of I don't know. Put my old man hat on. It's like people always looking for that easy route. It's like, no, man. It's like when you learn how to do the new thing is what's rewarding and fun. I like that a lot. That looks much better. Yep. Not as bulbous. The bottom looks a hair weird, but it's actually kind of looks like the real one does. So Yeah, I kind of like that. Looks actually pretty close to the real one. Let's catch my chat. Yeah, decorative parts will be a cool mod packs. People have been asking for that. Like, there's just too much for the devs to do as well. Like, Alistair and I both, asked for like the ability to have a panel and you put in throttles so that I could have mixture prop and throttles as a panel. And like, you're gonna get somebody put that in the game as a mod, and that's gonna be great. Like one thing that would be great is for them to be like, hey, we see all these great mods. Is there any of these mods that you guys would like us to add to the base game? And then they can be like, oh, this one fits in the game. Let's add our version of that. And if you want to use the mod, use the mod. And that, a ton of games have done that. Kerbал's done that. Farming Sim's done that. Like, what do you want them to add to career, Cam? I see this all the time. I'm just really curious. Like, what do people want them to add to career? Like, I've never had any problems having plenty to do in career. I'm just curious. Like, what do people want for career? Because I always see that people say they need to add more to career instead of saying, hey, it would be cool if you add this to career. So, what do you actually want added to career? Because I see that all the time, and I'm quite curious. Like, what do people mean by what they actually want for career? Yeah, one of the things I think is great with modding too is like it's probably going to bring in a bunch of new players who will subsidize the game, which will allow the devs to not have to worry about what some people want for the game. The devs can just put what they want in the game, and I think that's the biggest thing for me is I want the devs to build the game they want, and if there's something that I want that they don't build, I'll go get it off a mod. And if and if they put in some cool stuff that is in line with what they want, that's cool too. So I think that's the best part about mods. Yeah, I do wish there were more things to go reason to go to the mood. See, this is the thing I don't get is, I think to a certain extent it's a lack of imagination if you can't find enough stuff to do in career. Like I've never had a problem to do of needing stuff to do in career. Like you have to have goals and you have to set what's my mission for today, what's my mission for, in-game time. That's what I'm talking about. What's my mission for in-game today? What is my mission for 5 months in-game time? What is my mission for a year in-game time? So like when I start a career series, my mission for today is to go out and do a bunch of rescues. My mission for a month is to I want my oil rig up and drilling so I have all my oil covered. I have multiple bases. I want FJ, I want North Mire Outpost, I want Dremore, I want maybe, Sawyer North, I want Sawyer South. That's my 5 months in game. What's my 1 year in game? I want my own island with my own house on it. I want a home ship. I want that home ship to have helicopters, planes, land vehicles. I want to have Tajin as a base. I want, I don't know, JSI as a base. I want to get into, drilling for ores and making money doing that. And so, like, if you set these goals for yourself, you say, okay, well, my today goal is to make money so that I can do my month-long goal, which is to have an oil drilling rig. And so I'm going to go out and do missions. And then once you've got some missions, you say, okay, well now I need more revenue sources. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go start with a small crabbing boat. And then you go crabbing for a little bit. And then you make some money crabbing and say, okay, now I have enough money to put up an oil rig. So you put up an oil rig and you start making oil. And then after that you can, well, okay, well I want FJ. That's my longer term goal. You go out and you buy FJ. Now you have FJ. And so you go out and with FJ, you say, okay, well now I have a place to launch my home ship. So but I need more money. So what do you go do? You do some crabbing. You sell some oil. You go ahead and you do some missions. Now you have the money for your home ship, and then you can launch your home ship. And that feels like something you've been building towards. That's your goal, and you've accomplished your goal, and that's great. Now you're doing a bunch with your home ship. You say, okay, well now I want that island where I can build my own house. And that's how I always have fun with careers. So I still get it sometimes. Like, I've never had a problem, you know, thinking of the next thing I want to do in career. You know, make your own trail. It is a sandbox game. Make your own trail. You know. Yeah, that's all fake RPM numbers. If like in my max and stuff, because I want them to be realistic, I'll just fake them out. The other thing too is like this is the other thing too is you have to consider that things are a little bit bigger in game too. So for example, if I have the correct gear ratios in my trucks, but the wheel diameter is bigger in game than it is IRL. So because of that, the I would need to run my engine at a lower RPS so that I'm not going 120 miles an hour when I mean to go 60 miles an hour. And so that's where you kind of get that compression where you actually go in there and you change the speed around a little bit. Yeah, it would be kind of cool to have some sound occlusion when you're behind stuff. The problem is, like, you know, you could do that if you had a sealed compartment, but like on this where I'm using fake doors where they don't seal, you know, there's probably little to no way they could do that, especially in the engine. So it would be cool, but I don't think they can do it. Yeah, I agree with the comment here, Alistair's comment about VR games have to be VR games. The best VR games are games that are made innately for VR. You can throw it on some other games, like, for example, DCS, Flight Sim, where it's a seated experience, so you don't have to worry too much about nausea. And those are good experiences where they're essentially job simulators anyway. And so it makes good sense to do those. Um, you know, that's kind of you know, they fit best in there where they can be shoehorned in. But for the most part, you really need a game that's like meant to be um, VR from the beginning. Like shoehorn in later, especially like a game like this, you need high frame rates to be able to make it so you don't get nauseous in VR. Like if stormworks came out tomorrow with VR, like, you know, you can imagine it would probably make you pretty nauseous because the frame rate's not going to be huge. You really need high frame rates. QA, somebody probably said it. Let me look real quick. Somebody didn't say when the QA is. Sure, I don't have any emails. Oh, I do have an email. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get off and go do something here. I'm gonna finish up chat. I'm pretty much done here now. Let me go ahead and save this, and then I gotta go try to see why this isn't going. Alright, I'll see you there later, Citrus. Check Steam for the Q&A. Yeah, there's no reverse in a hovercraft. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they do have some shafts where it's single engine shaft drives running two propellers. You could do that. Yeah, counter rotating propellers gets rid of torque issues. Yeah, more in-depth medical stuff. You know, that's like I'm all for them adding some new things to career, but again, I see this all the time. People like, you know, career is pretty terrible. Okay, well, what do you want them to do to make it better? You know, or like they should add more to do in career. Okay, well, tell them what you want. Like that's how you like because like if somebody's like, you know, add more to career. Well, what do you want? Because if they add what they want, and you don't want that, then you'd be like, well, that's not what I wanted. It's like, well, say what you want. You know. You know, so like Daniel's saying, more in-depth medical tasks would be cool, like tourniquets and bandage. Yeah, I agree. That would be cool. You know. But that's the best thing is like say what you actually want. Go on the thing and say it. Yeah, larger like I've said what I would like them to add to career is passenger missions and palletized logistics. That would be great. Yeah, I shut off all the natural disasters. I have no interest in natural disasters. Yeah, and you also change the time. All right, guys, I gotta go. I gotta go work on some things. This thing's been dogging me. But thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you like the video. If you're new and you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. And I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.